I still remember the moment my phone buzzed that night. I was sitting in my car outside a gas station, counting change from the cup holder, trying to scrape together enough for dinner. The notification said it was from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something told me to open it. It was a video. At first, I didn't understand what I was watching. It looked like someone's living room. There was laughter in the background, loud and careless. Then the camera panned and I saw them. My uncle, my cousin, my aunt. People I grew up with. People I trusted. They were sitting around after some family dinner I wasn't invited to, and they were talking about me. My cousin held up his phone, showing them something. I couldn't see what it was, but I heard him say my name. Then came the laughter. Not the kind you share with someone. The kind you share about someone. My uncle leaned back in his chair, shaking his head, and said, "He's never gonna make it, man. Look at him, still working those dead-end gigs, barely keeping the lights on. What's he even doing with his life?" My aunt chimed in. "I tried to tell him, but he doesn't listen. He thinks he's got some big plan. But we all know how this ends. He's gonna be stuck like that forever." My cousin laughed again. "Honestly, it's embarrassing. I don't even tell people we're related anymore." The video was only 2 minutes long, but I watched it 3 times. Each time I kept hoping I'd misunderstood, that maybe it was a joke, that maybe they didn't mean it the way it sounded, but they did. And the worst part? Someone recorded it. Someone thought it was funny enough to send to me. Maybe they thought I'd laugh too. Maybe they didn't think at all. I sat there in that parking lot for over an hour, staring at nothing. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt empty, like something inside me had been ripped out, and I didn't even know what to call it. I had a flight booked for the following weekend. I was supposed to go home, see everyone, bring gifts I couldn't really afford but bought anyway because that's what you do for family. I was excited. I missed them. But after watching that video, I canceled the flight. I didn't call to explain. I didn't send a message. I just stopped. Before I continue explaining what happened that day, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It really helps more than you know. At the time, I was working 3 part-time jobs just to keep my head above water. I delivered food in the mornings, did freelance writing in the afternoons, and worked nights at a warehouse. My car was falling apart. My apartment was a studio with a leaky ceiling. I wore the same 4 shirts on rotation because I couldn't afford new clothes. But I was trying. Every single day, I woke up and tried. I didn't complain. I didn't ask anyone for help. I just kept moving, kept working, kept believing that if I stayed consistent, something would eventually break through. And they laughed at me for it. After I canceled that trip, the calls started coming. My mom asked why I wasn't coming home. My cousin texted asking if I was mad about something. My uncle called twice, left voicemails saying he hadn't seen me in a while and wanted to catch up. I didn't answer any of them. I didn't block them either. I just went quiet. I let the distance grow, let the silence stretch out until it became normal, until they stopped asking. Some people thought I was being petty. Maybe I was, but I didn't have the energy to explain. I didn't want to confront them, didn't want to hear excuses or half-hearted apologies. I didn't want anything from them anymore. I just wanted to disappear. So I did. For the next 4 years, I barely spoke to my family. I missed birthdays, holidays, weddings. I sent polite messages when I had to, short and distant, just enough to show I was still alive. But I never visited. I never called. I built a wall between us, brick by brick, until I couldn't see them anymore. And on the other side of that wall, I started to change. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't some dramatic transformation where I woke up one day and everything was different. It was slow, painful, lonely. I kept working those 3 jobs, but I started using the little free time I had differently. I read books about business, about investing, about building something that could last. I watched videos, took free courses online, learned skills I never thought I'd need. I stopped going out, stopped spending money on anything that wasn't essential. I lived like a monk, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Because I knew that if I didn't change something, I'd be stuck forever. Just like they said I would. And I refused to let them be right. Somewhere in that second year, things started to shift. The freelance writing gigs got bigger. I landed a client who paid well, then another, then another. I quit the warehouse job, then the delivery job. I started sleeping more than 4 hours a night. I moved into a better apartment. By year 3, I had saved enough to start a small online business. Nothing fancy, just a service I could run from my laptop. It grew slowly at first, but then it picked up momentum. I hired my first employee, then a second, then a team. I wasn't rich, I wasn't famous, but I was stable. I was building something real. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was enough. I didn't post about it on social media. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just kept my head down and worked. The people who mattered, the ones who actually cared, they knew. But my family, they had no idea. And honestly, I liked it that way. Then, about 4.5 years after that video was sent to me, my mom called. She was crying. My grandmother had gotten sick, and the doctors didn't think she had much time left. My mom begged me to come home. She said my grandmother kept asking for me. I didn't want to go. Every part of me wanted to stay away, to keep that wall up, to protect the peace I'd built. But my grandmother, she was different. She never laughed at me. She never doubted me. She loved me when I had nothing. And that kind of love doesn't come around often. So I booked a flight. I didn't tell anyone I was coming except my mom. I flew in on a Thursday afternoon, rented a car at the airport, and drove straight to the hospital. My grandmother's room was on the 3rd floor. When I walked in, she was asleep, but my mom was there. She looked up, saw me, and started crying all over again. We didn't talk much. I sat with my grandmother for a few hours, held her hand, told her I loved her. She woke up once, looked at me, smiled, and squeezed my hand back. That was enough. My mom asked if I'd come to the house later that evening. She said the whole family was gathering for dinner and it would mean a lot if I was there. I almost said no, almost made an excuse and left town that same night. But something in me, I don't know. Maybe I wanted to see them. Maybe I needed to. Maybe I just wanted to close the door for good. So I said yes. I showed up around 7. I parked down the street, took a deep breath, and walked up to the house I grew up in. The same house where I used to run around as a kid, where I learned to ride a bike, where I spent every Christmas morning. It felt smaller now. Or maybe I was just bigger. I knocked on the door. My mom answered, hugged me tight, and led me inside. The living room was full. My uncle, my aunt, my cousins, a few people I barely recognized. Everyone turned to look at me when I walked in, and the room went silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence. The kind where everyone suddenly realizes they don't know what to say. The kind where guilt sits heavy in the air and no one wants to be the first to speak. My uncle stood up, tried to smile, and said, "Hey, man, long time no see." I nodded. Didn't smile back. Just nodded. My cousin, the same one who'd laughed the loudest in that video, walked over and reached out for a handshake. I looked at his hand for a second, then shook it. His grip was weak. His eyes didn't meet mine. Someone asked how I'd been. I said I'd been good. Someone else asked what I'd been up to. I said I'd been working. They asked where I was working now, what I was doing. I kept my answers short, polite, but distant. Then my aunt, the one who said I'd be stuck forever, she asked, "So, are you still doing those little freelance things?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw it. She didn't actually care about the answer. She was fishing, trying to confirm what she already believed about me. I could have told her the truth. I could have told her about the business, the team, the fact that I'd made more in the past year than I'd made in the previous 5 combined. I could have pulled out my phone, shown her the numbers, watched her face change, but I didn't. I just said, "Yeah, still doing that." And I left it there. Dinner was awkward. People tried to make small talk, but it felt forced. My uncle kept cracking jokes that no one laughed at. My cousin kept glancing at me like he wanted to say something but couldn't figure out how. My aunt barely touched her food. I ate in silence, answered questions when I had to, and counted the minutes until I could leave. After dinner, my mom pulled me aside. She looked at me with this sad, tired expression and said, "I'm glad you're here. I know it's been hard, but family is family, you know." I nodded. But I didn't agree. Because family isn't just blood. It's not just people you share a last name with. Family is the people who show up when you're struggling, who believe in you when no one else does, who don't laugh at your pain when you're not in the room. And these people? They weren't my family anymore. They were just people I used to know. I stayed for another hour, then said my goodbyes. My mom hugged me at the door and asked when I'd visit again. I told her I'd let her know, but we both knew I wouldn't. As I walked back to my car, my cousin ran out after me. He called my name, jogged up beside me, and said, "Hey, man, listen, I wanted to say I'm sorry for, everything. We were stupid. We didn't mean it." I stopped walking, turned to face him. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other, avoiding eye contact. I didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't even raise my voice. I just said, "You did mean it, and that's okay. I heard you, loud and clear." He opened his mouth to say something, but I didn't wait. I got in my car and drove away. I never heard from most of them again. No calls, no texts, no apologies. And honestly, I was fine with that. Because here's the thing about revenge. Real revenge isn't about hurting the people who hurt you. It's not about proving them wrong or shoving your success in their faces. Real revenge is when you grow so much, become so strong, so secure in who you are, that their opinions don't matter anymore. They wanted me to fail. They laughed because they thought I would. And when I didn't, when I became everything they said I couldn't be, they had to sit with that. They had to live with the fact that they mocked someone who was struggling, someone who was trying, someone who deserved better. And that silence, that discomfort, that guilt they felt when I walked into that room, that was my revenge. I didn't need to say a word. My grandmother passed away 3 days later. I flew back for the funeral. I sat in the back, paid my respects, and left before anyone could try to talk to me. I haven't been back since. These days, my life looks different. I'm not working 3 jobs anymore. I'm not counting change in my car. I have a home I'm proud of, work that fulfills me, people around me who actually care. And sometimes, late at night, I think about that video. I think about sitting in that parking lot, feeling like the world had crushed me. I think about how much it hurt. But I also think about how much it changed me. Because pain like that, it either breaks you or it builds you. And I refuse to break. I don't hate my family. I don't wish bad things on them. I just don't need them anymore. I don't need their approval, their validation, their acceptance. I found all of that within myself. And maybe that's the real victory. Not wealth, not success, not proving anyone wrong. Just peace. Just knowing that I'm enough. With or without them. And if this story touched you in any way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Because sometimes the people who feel the most alone, they just need to know that someone else made it through. That it's possible to rise from rock bottom. That silence can be more powerful than words. And that revenge doesn't have to be loud to be real.